Welcome to the Calibration Room. You've been hearing that you come across as either too soft or too strict, and that feedback can feel genuinely frustrating, especially when you're trying your best to treat people fairly. You may have even walked away from a conversation thinking you handled it well, only to find out the message didn't land the way you intended. So let's talk about what's actually happening and why this is one of the most common tensions in HR. When someone says you're too soft, they're often seeing a pattern of making exceptions instead of applying the standard consistently. Empathy is important, but when similar situations are handled differently, employees begin to question whether the process is fair. Now, when someone says you're too strict, they're often seeing the human side being overlooked. The decision may be correct, but if it's delivered without empathy, it can damage trust and make HR feel transactional rather than supportive. Both patterns cause damage, and both are correctable once you understand where the balance actually lives. Here's the core principle: empathy and policy enforcement are not opposites. Empathy is not about changing the standard, it's about how you communicate the standard. Think about a recent conversation where you had to enforce a policy. Did your response focus more on the rule or more on the person in front of you? Wherever that balance tipped too far is usually where the feedback is coming from. Here's what that imbalance sounds like in practice on both sides. When empathy goes too far, you may say, I understand this is a really tough situation. Let's see if there's something we can do here. It may seem like the right thing to do in the moment, but repeated exceptions gradually weaken the standard and make consistent decision making much harder. When policy takes over completely, you may say something like, this is the policy and it has to be followed. That's accurate, but it communicates nothing beyond the rule itself. The employee feels like a case number, not a person. And that shapes how they view every interaction with HR going forward. The balance lives right in the middle. And here's what it sounds like. I understand this situation is difficult, and I want you to know that I hear you. Our policy requires us to handle it this way, and I want to walk through exactly what the process looks like so there are no surprises. The decision didn't change, and neither did the standard. What changed was how the message was delivered, and that can make all the difference. Here's your check-in question. An employee comes to you visibly upset after receiving a written warning. She says, this isn't fair. I've been here for 8 years and no one has ever had a problem with my work. Which response best reflects the balance between empathy and policy enforcement? Is it A, I completely understand. 8 years is a long time, and I think we should look at whether this warning was really necessary? Is it B, the warning was issued in accordance with our progressive discipline policy. You can review the policy in your employee handbook? Is it C, I hear you and I understand this feels difficult. The warning reflects the documented concerns from your manager, and I want to walk you through the process and what comes next so you have a clear picture of where things stand? Or is it D, let's just focus on moving forward from here and not worry too much about the warning itself? The answer is C. It acknowledges the employee's feelings without validating a challenge to the decision. It upholds the integrity of the process and gives the employee clear, respectful information about what happens next. Option A opens the door to reconsidering a properly issued warning. Option B is accurate but dismissive. And option D minimizes the situation and avoids the conversation entirely. Balancing empathy with policy enforcement takes practice. When employees feel both heard and treated consistently, they trust not only your decisions, but the HR process itself. Keep focusing on steady communication and consistent standards. That's how credibility is built, one conversation at a time. You're building something that strengthens both people and the organization. Keep going. Thanks for stopping by the Calibration Room. See you next time.